Okay, so there we go. We have created our first loop in Audacity. So what we're going to do is we are now going to mute this one as well. Take the solo off, mute it. Go up here, mute this. So now both tracks are muted. If you see this little arrow here, this is going to collapse the track so that they're small. We want to do that just because we're going to be opening up another track, and we're going to start to have a few up there, so it's just a way of organizing and keeping all the tracks visible so you know what's there. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to record some audio. We're going to record the text. So what we want, go up to Audacity, drop down. We're going to go to Preferences again, and it's going to point something out. When you're recording, this button here, the overdub, play other tracks while recording new one. Now, if you are recording audio to the music that you have, just say you're singing something, here you would want to have this checked and use headphones. So you have the headphones, wearing the headphones so you hear the audio, and then you can record your voice without having any bleed over onto the track that you're recording. For what we're doing, or for what I'm doing at the moment, I'm going to unclick this so that it doesn't play any of the tracks. Now I've muted them so that they wouldn't play anyway, but just to point out here that if you are wanting to record with headphone to audio or not, this is where you would select that. So leave that, okay. And now in Audacity, if we hit the record button, it will just start recording. So you can see it's starting to record and record my voice as I'm speaking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the text that I'm going to read, and I'm going to start to read. So here we go. The breeze is rising and blowing my papers about the table. The rustling in the trees sounds like tape hiss until it mixes with the next plane overhead. Recently, a young man described his experience working in proximity to jet engines. After overcoming fear of the sound, he began to find sounds to listen to, such as small tinklings within the engine. Why can't sounds be visible? Would the feedback from ear to eye cause fatal oscillation? Can you remember the first sound you ever heard? What is the first sound you remember hearing? What is the first sound you remember hearing? So you notice there, I didn't like the way I said that last line, so I just repeated it because we'll be able to edit that out. So I'm going to stop recording, go back to the beginning here by clicking the arrow, the rewind arrow. I'm going to zoom out just so we can see the whole file, and there it is. There's the audio that was just recorded. So I'm going to play it back. It will just start recording, so you can see. There we are. So I know from recording, I know that the first line that I want is the breeze rising. So I'm just going to find that. The breeze is rising. There we go. That's it. So I'm just going to select everything before that because that was just me talking before the recording. Take that out. And now I know I also messed up a line. So I'm going to find that and take that out. Why can't sounds be visible? Would the feedback from ear to eye cause fatal oscillation? Can you remember the first sound you ever heard? What is the first sound you remember hearing? What is the first sound you remember hearing? Okay, so here is the line I do not want. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit on that. And what I'm going to do is to keep the rhythm of the way I was saying it, I'm going to cut that out so that this line lines up to where this one was. And I'm just going to select it with the selector tool and then just hit delete. You can also go up to edit, cut, delete. Just to note, cut, if you cut it, you can paste it elsewhere. So you can always, same as in Word or any of the other text edit, that if you cut, it saves it to the clipboard so that you can paste it elsewhere. But I just want that audio out, so I'm just going to do that, and then I'm just going to listen to it.
Have you ever heard? What is the first sound you remember hearing?
Okay, that's it. I know everything after that is something I do not want, so I'm just going to cut that out. So now we have the audio track. So I'm going to zoom back out, go to the beginning.
The breeze is rising and blowing my papers about the table.
It's a good thing to listen through. For our sake, I'm not gonna take the time, but good thing to listen through. Make sure the recording is well done while recording. Should have mentioned this beforehand, but while you're recording, here, maybe I'll just do it again. I'm just clicking over here. I'm going to record just later on after file. Hit record. You'll notice we now have the red level meter, which is indicating the input of the mic. So if I get in real close, you'll notice it gets much louder and starts to get much to what is called hot. And as I move further back, the levels go down a bit. Essentially, when you're recording, you're wanting that as close to zero as possible without distorting, without going over zero, and zero meaning the highest the level can get. In digital audio, going over zero creates some unfortunate distortion. So essentially, you want a good level. So if you see here, this would be a decent level to have. Giving a good waveform that you can see here. Okay, so I'm just going to stop that. Go back to the beginning. Here's the X. I'm just going to get rid of this track. That track is now gone. Not a track we wanted. So what we're going to do now, grab our little mover tool. You can see. So now I'm just going to open up the little loop that we made and just add that in here, and we're going to play them back together.
The breeze is rising and blowing my papers about the table.
So now we can hear, we have our loop and we have our audio track. Now, the music is a bit loud, but we will deal with that afterwards. You do have a volume control for each track right here, so we could lower it down. Right now I'm not going to do that. It's good practice to get all your files lined up and then do what is called the mix afterwards. So we're just going to leave that for the moment, and we may or may not use that loop anyway, but for the example. So we now have our music loop and dialogue track. So I am going to now collapse both of these, and we are going to import some more audio. I'm just going to import all of the audio that I mentioned at the beginning. It's going to ask me, yes, make a copy. Yes, make a copy. Now, you can see we're starting to have quite a few files here. So what we're going to do, I am just going to shrink them all so that we can see them all on one screen. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 audio files. 1 muted. So we're going to start with this one here and just find out exactly what it is. I'm going to solo it to hear it. Choose my selector tool and just give it a... So that's the plane. So we have our plane. This is the wind in the leaves. A lovely track indeed. Go to the next one. some more wind a little lower. Sometimes it's handy when using sound effects to combine them, so we have our high rustling leaf wind and a lower, more mysterious wind. Here's our tinkling. The last one here, you'll notice, is a mono track. Essentially, if it's a mono track, it's going to be sent to both speakers in a stereo situation anyway. And really, for our purposes, the only thing to be aware of is if you are cutting and pasting a mono track, when you generate a new track, you need to do an audio track, which is a mono track. So you see there, I just made one, so we're going to get rid of that. So for our purposes at the moment, that's all we need to be aware of. And let's just take a listen to this one, see what it is. Select an area. There is our paper rustling. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our voice. Zoom in a little bit. I'm going to select that area. You'll notice that whole area will pop up. There we go. I'm going to solo it. Go back to our selector tool.
The breeze is rising and blowing my papers about the table.
Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the rest of this audio. I am going to cut it and then paste it further along. So pretty much I've just isolated that first line.
The breeze is rising and blowing my papers about the table.
So again, here we can move this around. I'm just going to give myself a little bit of breathing room at the beginning here. So we've got about 20 seconds. I'm going to find my wind, which I believe is this one. I'm just going to move that up underneath the dialog file. I'm going to hit solo. So I've hit solo on these two tracks, so they'll be the only ones playing. We're just going to start that. Now I'm just going to stop that, move that over a bit. We don't need 20 seconds. I just want to hear how that sounds coming in. Oops.
The breeze is rising and blowing my papers about the table.
Okay, so we have our breeze. What we're going to do here is we're going to shrink down the breeze again. Where's our other breeze? I believe it's you. Yes. Move that underneath. Solo. So now we have both. So now we can hear both of the breeze files.
The breeze is rising and blowing my papers about the table.
With our first line of dialogue. Now, we do have the paper, so I'm going to find that paper again, just here. Move it up, and I'm actually going to move this one up now. Oops. To underneath the, come on now. Underneath the dialogue, sorry. So, now we have the paper. I'm going to solo this one as well. Nope, not the paper. There's the paper. Bring this one up. And just going to move this over.
breeze is rising and blowing my papers about the table.
A little cliche, but we get the point. I'm actually going to cut out, I know I'm not going to be using all that, so I'm just going to cut that out for the moment and put a little fade on the end there. I probably won't even be using that much, but just to, okay, so we have that in there. I'm going to grab the rest of the dialogue. Let's bring this back over. Go back to our selector tool.
Rustling in the trees sounds like tape hiss until it mixes with the next plane overhead.
There we go, plane overhead. So we're going to sink that one down, shrink that one down. Plane overhead is this one. Grab it, put it underneath, so low. Actually, sorry, before I do that, I'm just going to isolate the
Rustling in the trees sounds like tape hiss until it mixes with the next plane overhead. Recently, a young man described.
I'm going to cut this audio out and just move it along again like I did last time. The placement of this is not bad, actually. It kind of works there, so I'm just going to move it over a touch. Move it over a touch, come back to our audio, or sorry, our dialogue. We're at the moment just arbitrarily placing it, and then we'll listen on.
Recently, a young man described his experience working in proximity to jet engines. After overcoming fear of the sound, he began to find sounds to listen to, such as small tinklings within the engine. Why can't...
Okay, so that's the part I'm wanting at the moment. Isolate the tinkling, so I'm going to cut that out, just move it along. Boom. I'm going to go down to the tinkling, which was, yes, was you. Just move it up under the track so we can see. I'm going to solo it, add it into the mix, move this along, just kind of arbitrarily placing it about where I think I'd want it to be.
Sounds to listen to, such as small tinklings within the engine.
Okay. Again, I will not want all of that tinkling, so I'm just going to get rid of a big chunk of it. Again, create a little fade. So get closer to the edge there. A little bit of a fade. Go back to our dialogue track, move it along. You'll notice there the yellow line even comes up when synced with another track. So we're just going to play this back now.
Why can't sounds be visible? Would the feedback from ear to eye cause fatal oscillation?
Okay, I'm going to give myself a little more room. What we're going to do is add part of the music there. So, just to go back and look at it, we'll zoom out, shrink this down. You can now see we're starting to have somewhat of a mix. We have our two wind tracks at the bottom here. We have the airplane track, which comes in at a particular time lined up to the dialogue. We have the paper rustling, same. It is lined up at a particular part for the dialogue. And then we have the tinkling. The tinkling, yeah. So, next thing we're going to do, there's a particular part of this audio that I would like, and it happens at the end. So I'm just going to quickly grab it here. So I know I'm not using that beginning part, so I'm just going to cut it out. Shift this along. And what I'm doing is I'm lining this up with the end there, because I would like the music part of it to come in just at the end where the tinkling is. Hold on, you know what? I'm just undoing because I've taken too much of that out. So I'm going to move back a bit, cut out the beginning part of that. Okay, so quickly and somewhat crudely we have aligned all the audio up.
The breeze is rising and blowing my papers above the table. Rustling in the trees sounds like tape until it mixes with the next plane. Recently, a young man described his experience working in proximity to jet engines. After overcoming fear of the sound, he began to find sounds to listen to, such as small tinklings within the engine.
So we get an idea, but it definitely, a couple of